Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, Head of DevRel here at Dremio, and I'd like to invite you all to this presentation, The Promise of Agentic Analytics. Now, in this presentation, what I want to do is talk about just sort of what is Agentic Analytics. So the idea of being able to do analytics assisted by AI agents is sort of in an easy, natural language kind of way, and talk about sort of how this is sort of the holy grail of what many companies are trying to achieve in their data platforms, but oftentimes falling short for a variety of different reasons, and then making these not getting necessarily the return on investment people are making on a lot of these larger AI investments, and how you can actually get that ROI by using the Dremio platform, sort of like how Dremio addresses these particular bottlenecks. So let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about why a lot of different AI POCs fail, why people hit these particular roadblocks. Most of the time it's because there's a lack of business context. So you have your data, you have it connected to some sort of AI interface, and the AI still hallucinates, doesn't necessarily know which information to reach for, and just makes a lot of mistakes. Okay, or two, you have data in many different places. So your AI, it becomes too brittle to connect your data to all AI because your AI agent has all this sort of like baroque, actually a boutique. Oh, that's not the word I'm looking for. Sort of like novel code to just establish all these connections to different data sources. That puts this burden on the AI to kind of understand what data is where, and again, lacking that context and having all these extra sort of connections creates sort of all these sort of bottlenecks to create issues, or just becomes difficult to establish all those connections if you don't have the know how to build sort of an abstraction layer in between. So oftentimes, again, doesn't have access to the data or doesn't understand what that data is. And a lot of times people focus like, hey, this model's just not good enough. We're not there yet. But we are there, and you can achieve sort of, a fast agentic experience that understands your data, that has access to your data, and gives you the experience that you're looking to have for your business line users. So again, one problem is that context gap. Okay, LLMs don't inherently understand your specific definitions. They don't understand words like churn rate, and unless you give them understanding of how your business uses these terms. So they'll generate generic SQL that kind of approximates these things, but not necessarily always accurately. So then you end up having sort of bad SQL formation when it's hitting your sort of structured data sources. You end up having like sometimes it giving you different SQL for the same metric because people are asking for the same thing, but it's rethinking through this every time. So you end up having conflicting metric definitions. These are the same problems you'd have without AI, where you'd have different individuals come up with different SQL or different definitions for the same metric. Except now you're seeing it on a grander scale because you're doing it through sometimes the black box feeling LLM. And again, the problem with this is that you create erosion of people's trust in the data because people are seeing different signals from different versions of the same data. So this is not a new problem. This is a problem you had before AI, and the solution is the same as it was without AI, and that is a semantic layer. Basically, having some sort of layer where you curate an understanding of your business data. Now, Dremio's platform has had a semantic layer from the beginning, even before this whole AI world began. It was always a key part of Dremio, and Dremio has been investing in enhancing how AI agents work with Dremio semantic layer. So with Dremio, you can prepare all your data, like connect all your raw data with, regardless of where it is. We'll talk more about that later. But then in Dremio semantic layer, using SQL views, using wikis, using tags, you can define relationships, define business metrics in that semantic layer. Okay. And Dremio, either with its internal AI agent that knows how to grab the data from the semantic layer and use it for understanding the data before just writing random SQL queries, or through Dremio's MCP server, so that way you can bring Dremio's functionality and access to that semantic layer to your AI, your external AI agents, external to Dremio. Basically, now when you interact with Dremio, you're going to have that sort of semantically aware result, which is going to give you sort of better SQL, more consistent definitions to different questions when they're asking about the same metrics, because it's pulling those definitions, it's understanding what those definitions are ahead of time. Okay, so then what happens is that you end up going through this mode. With Dremio, you end up going through this sort of cycle of preparing your data. So again, connect to that semantic layer, creating all those views. That's sort of your business layer where you define these relationships. and then defining sort of views that are sort of more targeted towards your specific applications of this information. Okay, essentially your gold layer, where your AI agent can pull sort of the specific metrics and things like that. Now, the second problem is oftentimes you may have a semantic layer in other platforms, but the problem is that platform requires you to move all their data into their platform. And usually, if you're lucky, maybe they also support Apache Iceberg. So you have an option at least getting your data into Apache Iceberg. But how about data that's still in different databases or maybe in other warehouses or across different clouds? No, you're still going to have to oftentimes move data around. You're still building a lot of more ETL than you probably would like for a lot of data that doesn't necessarily always need to move. Okay, maybe you are still able to access it performantly enough where it is. It's just that you're doing all your analytics on a platform that requires your data to be there or in Apache Iceberg. Now, Dremio can work with Apache Iceberg. Dremio can work with your data warehouse. In that case, you can ETL your data where you've been ETLing your data to. It'll work with Dremio, but you can also keep your data where it's been. It can be in a database like Postgres or MySQL or SQL Server. It can be in object storage in Azure, in S3, in GCP. It could be in an Iceberg catalog like Dremio's own built-in Apache Polaris built-in catalog or Snowflake's open catalog or AWS Glue. It can be sitting in a data warehouse like a Snowflake, like a Redshift, or a Synapse. And all that data can then be connected, and you don't necessarily have to move that data, but Dremio can allow you to query all that data as if it were all available in a single system, and you get the benefit of Dremio's semantic layer on top of it. So basically, AI agents now don't have to really think about what your data is, because Dremio provides this abstraction, this virtualization layer that allows the AI agent to see all your data wherever it is, because you've already connected it, and then you prepared that semantic layer, so it has an understanding of your data across your entire data real estate. Now that's great, okay? Now, once you have a semantic layer, AI agents are going to understand your data. Once you have query federation, you're going to have better access to all of your data. But then there's also the issue of performance. For people that really want to use an AI agent, they're going to want answers faster than later. It's just like anything else. If people have to wait too long to use something, they're going to end up using it less. So if you want to maximize the value of creating an environment of agentic analytics, so that way people can use insights and people within your organization can become more data driven, and you can have more data driven outcomes, okay, at a quicker pace, you need to have not just the ability to access the data, but be able to access the data fast. And Dremio is built to perform at this kind of scale, okay? I mean, just its raw performance as a Apache Arrow-based engine, the original Apache Arrow-based engine, okay? I mean, just to give you some context, last year in 2025, Dremio celebrated its 10th anniversary, its 10th birthday. Also, Apache Arrow celebrated its 10th birthday. Okay, they're two projects that have a lot of ties, okay? But on top of that, Dremio has so many other layers to its performance, other than that it's a massively parallel processing system, so it's infinitely scalable. It has the Apache Arrow processing, so again, you're doing there's a lot of efficiencies in the way the data moves across these different nodes with zero copy and less deserialization. But also there's very intelligent caching layers that are automatically run. So again, a lot of these performance benefits aren't things you have to trigger or maintain, or they just are there and you just get the benefit from them. Such as data reflections, we have a feature called autonomous data reflections that'll just kind of think of it like materialized views but on auto. Caching, there's results cache, query finding caches to help accelerate parts of the query lifecycle. You have massive parallelism. There's something called the columnar cloud cache. It'll query frequently accessed objects from object storage, reducing the amount of round trips. So all of this also reduces your costs because you'll have to run less compute to achieve the same query because of Dremio's enhancements. So again, more importantly, it's going to allow you to have performant agentic analytics. At the same time, it'll also lower your overall cost for agentic analytics. So, and semantic layer does that too. So, well, let me just point that out. Because with your semantic layer, your agents are going to do less round trips, reducing the cost of using the models that you use for your AI agents, okay? Because you're running less agentic prompts, and you're also reducing costs because you're going to end up running less queries from your agent, because of the semantic layer, but they're also going to be faster because of Dremio's performance enhancements. But Dremio, again, is really built for this sort of agentic analytics world, the idea of allowing people to consume the data agentically in lots of different ways. And there's lots of different layers of this. Two of these I've already mentioned, that Dremio has a built-in AI agent. So right there in the Dremio UI, you can begin just asking natural language questions and generating visualizations, generating SQL queries. But on top of it, we have the MCP server that Dremio has, where you can connect it to your favorite interfaces, like let's say a Claude or a ChatGPT, and immediately get all those Dremio superpowers in these other interfaces. But Dremio also has built-in AI functions, so that way you can work with your structured data. So not only can you federate your data, federate queries across your different data sources, but you can also bring in your unstructured data. Sit there and say, hey, you know what? Use a function like AI generate to generate structured records from a batch of PDFs or things like that. Okay, classified data, generate descriptions of a particular record based on the values in all the other columns. There's functions that allow you to do all these things to give you extra powers when it comes to working with your federated data. And on top of it, you have some other flourishes, such as the ability to AI generate wikis and tags to much faster create and curate your semantic layer, or a feature called Explain This Job, where you use AI to understand a job's profile to better understand how you can optimize a particular query you may run that you were trying to optimize, with recommendations and a quick understanding of that versus having to read a large list of operators and detailed job plans. Bottom line, one of the best parts is that all of this is all in one platform. Okay, it's not that you can't build this without Dremio, but oftentimes you end up building a Franken platform, where you have, where you're using separate platforms to store your data, to connect your data, to federate queries, to be your semantic layer, to accelerate queries, to you building your own custom MCP server across everything. You're having to build everything, either build it or buy it across every little piece of the story, versus having a platform that gives you everything you need for a great agentic experience all in sort of a box. Having the built-in iceberg catalog, having all these AI, ability to interact with different AI interfaces, the ability to work with unstructured data, the ability to federate queries across all these different sources, the ability to provide that virtualization layer, so that way your AI agent doesn't have to understand that you have different data sources. They just have to understand that this is where all your data is. Okay, basically treating Dremio as sort of your data warehouse or database of all your data. The autonomous performance management, all these things are all under one roof, and really all you have to do is you just connect your data, curate your semantic layer, and you're off to the races, writing queries using natural language. So again, if you haven't tried Dremio out yet, head over to dremio.com/get started, and you can try out Dremio's free trial today. Okay, it's free, no credit card required. You don't have to bring your own cloud. You can just sign up and begin working with the Dremio platform, and you get 30 days, 400 credits. Go run queries you like, connect your data sources, try out the AI agent and see what natural language queries feel like on Dremio, and try the Dremio experience out and see if it's something that's going to help you accelerate your ability to bring agentic AI to your organization today. Have a great day. Enjoy. I'll see you all later.